Kyrie Irving finally made his Nets debut alongside Kevin Durant and James Harden. The script was written that they'd handle the sub-500 Cavaliers with no problem, and we could just skip the rest of the season and hand them the Larry O'Brien trophy. But Collin Sexton didn't get the memo, neither did Chetty or Larry, and they proceeded to put on a show, trading punches with the best team in the East, exposing a serious issue that people like me dismissed, but after last night, we cannot ignore. This wasn't supposed to happen. We thought the Nets would just overwhelm the Cavs with their offensive firepower and this game would be over by the third quarter. While I acknowledge there could be defensive issues in the last video I did on the Nets, I didn't think it would be this troubling. It starts with 21 action on the wing. Chetty could have waited for the ball screen, or he can reverse to the top and cut back door. Credit to Andre Drummond for throwing this beauty, but Kyrie loses sight of man and ball, is out of position, and Osman gets the layup. You might be wondering where the help was. KD was staring a hole through this play, but doesn't even begin to react until Chetty is just about in the air. On this possession, the first thing that stood out to me was Kyrie's strange positioning. This angle allows Taurean Prince a clear path to the basket. Then, Durant is a step late reacting to the Chetty cut. It's an easy pass because of Kyrie's positioning, and credit to Osman for the off-foot reverse, which gets it off before KD can block it. With more time together, some of the issues can get worked out, particularly with the transition defense. You can see Harden running back here with Dotson as his man. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot was hustling to pick up Nance. However, Harden just keeps running into the lane, not guarding anybody, not communicating, leaving TLC slow to recognize he needed to get to Dotson on the wing for another wide open three. More non-communication in transition as both Kevin Durant and DeAndre Jordan want to guard Nance running along the lane line. This leaves Okoro wide open in the corner for an easy jumper. In the fourth, I can appreciate Jeff Green wanting to support a teammate, but helping one pass away here when Reggie Perry was already in help position just forces major rotations, with Harden not realizing he needed to close out to the wing until it was too late, and Dotson hits another open three. In the second, a simple inside ball screen with the strong side corner empty catches DeAndre Jordan way too low considering where Drummond sets the screen. Harris gets taken out and it's a simple free throw line jumper. The pistol action on the right side forces a switch, with Kevin Durant now guarding Sexton. But that same inside ball screen sees KD go underneath the screen, so Sexton pulls up a dribble earlier from 19 feet for an open look. Late in the fourth, they attack James Harden in the pick and roll by screening Sexton with his man. Harden almost screens Kyrie Irving off, who's doing some weird airplane impersonation, and Collin gets an even closer pull-up jumper. But Sexton didn't need a ton of help getting open, as he lets the screen go by before then straight blowing by Bruce Brown for the gorgeous finger roll when James Harden's help is ineffective. The Nets defense certainly helped Sexton to all those points, as Harden foolishly gambles for the steal, taking him out of potential help as Sexton hits Kyrie with a cross jab. Watch how he drops the ball from right to left, then adds a right foot jab back to the right side. This turns Kyrie into a turnstile as Sexton gets the nifty lefty layup. The Nets couldn't get this game close until midway through the fourth, and it wasn't from any fancy offense with intricate movement patterns. With Kyrie standing in the right corner the whole time and Harden unable to get it to KD, he takes matters into his own hands as the smaller Sexton gets switched onto him and Harden shoots right over him for a tough three to cut the lead to 5. While there were plenty of defensive lapses, there were some positive things. Check how Harden immediately realizes Kyrie is guarding Drummond and scrams him out of there. Then he deflects the ball and makes the offense start all over. This gets us to a, shall we say, interesting move by Drummond. And the Nets waste no time pushing the ball fast, getting a 3-on-2 along the left side of the court. This opens up the shot fake 2-dribble pull-up from 12 feet, which, for Durant, is almost like a layup. A little later on, still down 5, the Nets don't need to do much. Just let Durant probe the defense. The screen gets him a switch, and he gets to a spot he likes before pulling up over Jarrett Allen. It's a luxury of riches for the Nets down the stretch. If they get tired of watching Durant rise up over helpless defenders from the mid-range, they can give it to Harden, who abuses the rookie on the way to the basket for free throws. This started out promising, as Nash has both KD and Kyrie go up to set a phalanx ball screen for Harden. After the Cavs switch this, it contains the threat. And here's the issue with this alignment. Joe Harris shouldn't be standing here with Kyrie almost next to him. The pass from Harden should be going to Kyrie to create, not Harris, who misses the drive. But credit to Kyrie for the great touch on this tip-in. Here's another issue they must work out. It's a tie game with a perfect 2-for-1 opportunity. And while I do like that they set consecutive ball screens with Kyrie and KD, it is easily contained, it takes too long to mount any type of attack, and give Larry Nance Jr. a game ball for his excellent but unheralded all-around play all game, defending this perfectly and contesting the step back into a brick. Now, the Cavs have pretty much the last shot, but Sexton commits the one mistake he made all game, just losing the handle on his way to the basket, which sets us up for the most puzzling call I've seen in a long time, and I had to bring Ronnie Nunn in to discuss. Ronnie was an NBA referee for 19 years, head of officials for 5, and director of development for 3 more. So, Ronnie, we need some help here because this is obviously a provocative motion at the end of the game that would pretty much decide the outcome, and the referees are getting involved. So, what happened was they called a clear offensive foul, and they go to the replay, which is triggered at the end of the game legally, but they overturn this. So can you give us insight into what the rule is supposed to be and how this is supposed to play out and whether or not they got it right?
I have to tell you, I'm a little confused about the play in its final situation, but let's go through the process. The process is there's an offensive foul call, and as you look at the play completely unfold a couple of times, you'll recognize this is a pretty easy offensive foul problem by the offensive player. Now, the question is, what level of offensive foul? Is it a normal offensive foul without any other particulars to it? Well, no, it's just a high flailed arm. And I think there's good news and bad news. The good news is it's not the elbow. If it was the elbow being flailed and hit someone in the face like that, that usually will go right to a flagrant penalty too, which is excessive contact. Okay, but it doesn't. It's a forearm. So I can say, okay, it's an offensive foul of a forearm and flagrant, so we're going to go with flagrant 1, unnecessary contact. Not excessive, but unnecessary. So if you go into the monitor, I would believe that's what you're thinking about. Do I have a normal offensive foul? Was this a flop by the player to make it look worse? And all of a sudden you see that there's a hit. You've got to go with the decision now, do I have an offensive foul anymore, or do we upgrade it? Well, I think it deserves an upgrade.
The call is overturned. The clock stays at 1.5. The ball is put at center circle.
Okay.
Guys, like I said.
Now, when you're telling me, Coach, that there's a jump ball at the end of this play, I'm confused. And I could be wrong. We could have slid something in that I didn't realize, where you can have a call on a foul, a regular foul, and all of a sudden take that away and say, you know what, I blew the whistle. It's not a foul. The ball is loose, and we're going to jump. I don't know of a no foul scenario in instant replay. I know it for upgrading. I know it for downgrading when it talks about particular overt situations, like a flagrant, or whether a punch was thrown and it really wasn't. Maybe it was just a flail. You can always downgrade from an ejection to, wait a minute, I'll give that a technical. You can work with these particular ones. I don't know of a foul being reversed.
Right. Now, I think we can both be clear. This is an offensive foul based at the very minimum. And I really like what you say as far as, it definitely gets into that flagrant 1 area, which would then, what we didn't say here is it would trigger 2 free throws for Sexton to win the game, which is, key. Now, the Cavaliers ended up winning the game anyway in double overtime, so maybe it's not such a big deal anymore. But it's pretty provocative to kind of get this one wrong at such a crucial part of the fourth quarter. So I don't know. Now, I guess, is it possible they might have said, okay, there's no foul, the ball went loose, and there is this notion of an inadvertent whistle, which would then maybe trigger a jump ball after that?
I like inadvertent whistle. That stays within the framework of my mind of what the options are when you go. I can see an inadvertent whistle being a jump ball by any 2 at midcourt. But as far as the contact here, it just leaves me confused. And I guess we'll have to wait on the L2M, and during the course of the day, we'll get some information to each other so we can get people to know what the result of this was. Because to me, it's confusing. Again, unless there's an insertion of something that gets now to a foul where you can reverse a foul by going to the monitor. Now, I think we have that with a challenge, certainly. But this, I understand, is not a challenge play. Correct, Coach?
Yeah, that's correct. It was a review, and we went through the rules, and nothing triggers a jump ball out of a review when you take away a foul that wasn't supposed to be a foul. So it is confusing. I don't know how they got to that ruling, and I suppose we'll just say lucky that the Cavaliers did pull it out and don't have to protest this, I guess. Well, thanks for coming on and breaking this down. I appreciate it.
Very good, Coach Nick. See you again.
The rest of this game was all Collin Sexton. My goodness, he detonated for 22 points in the 2 overtimes, hitting 5 of 7 threes during that time. Down by 5 and in desperate need of a bucket, they get the matchup they want on the handoff with Harden switching on ball. A simple crossover gets him right into the lane. Check the vet move to knock into his back while he's shooting, but he drops it clean through anyway. Of course, more referee issues when Harden clearly travels before Osman takes the foul. There's the gather step once he takes control of the ball. Then the right foot is the pivot and it cannot lift off the floor before the ball leaves his hand. This is what clearly happens before any contact is made with the defender, and it's a dubious foul anyway, but it gets the Nets 2 free throws. Down 3, Cedi Osman tries his 2-motion shot over the defense. Somehow it's so off, it ends up being an alley-oop. And check the degree of difficulty on the reverse to bring it down and then flip it back up over his head, off the glass, and into the rim. Here's where I started shaking my head, sports fans. Up 3, with under 10 seconds to go, Harden does the smart thing here and takes the foul. Don't let them get a chance to tie it up. However, they had a foul to give, so you'd think Kyrie would just do it again and eliminate any chance of losing the game. Instead, he just lets Sexton dribble to the left wing. Sexton even fumbles a dribble, no attempt to put him on the line, and Sexton cold buries this thing. Kyrie even got provocative in his defense, easily could have gotten caught with his hand in the cookie jar that would have allowed Sexton to win it from the free throw line. In double OT, they went back to the inside ball screen to Sexton's left, and he takes Kyrie into the lane before hitting him with a Dirk leg fadeaway to increase the lead. Looking to ice this early, they run horns, bringing Sexton back out top on the handoff. And Kyrie inexplicably runs right into Nance, allowing an open look to the hottest guy in the gym. To prove it wasn't a fluke, they forced Durant onto him, which was a curious decision, but Sexton gets into a rhythmic dance with him just before quick releasing a 3 over the 7-footer to put this game out of reach. It's unclear if this Cavaliers team is any good. Andre Drummond is a completely and utterly frustrating player to watch, and there's a bit of a talent deficit. We all got to see why there are so many doubters of the Brooklyn Nets, despite their issues being fixed with just a little more focus and energy. But for one night, Collin Sexton and the Cleveland Cavaliers can claim victory over the juggernaut of the Eastern Conference.